Hello beautiful souls and welcome to my channel Roseology. So today's video we are discussing the full moon that just happened in the sign of Leo a few days ago and the energy that is going to be conjuring up over the next couple of weeks. So there's going to be a very in-depth astrological forecast as to what you can expect over the next couple of weeks here leading up to that new moon in the sign of Aquarius, as well as there will be a pick a card after that astrological breakdown for a more personalized message of what to expect. Now, let me see. What do I need to get out of the way? Right. Okay. So if you know why you are here, then you can head down to the description section for the timestamps at different points discussed in the video. Let me just get the basics out of the way first though. No, I am not taking personal readings at this time. No, I do not have social media besides this YouTube channel. And let me think. I do kind of have one announcement that I think, yeah, fuck it, I'm just gonna share it. Okay, so you guys have been asking me now for a very long time if I would be willing to teach astrology and tarot in some way, shape, or form, either on this channel or in a different space. And the news is I am starting a Patreon account where I will be diving headfirst into tarot, astrology, esoteric language. If you're interested in learning how to read your own chart, read other people's charts, predictive astrology, things like that. If you wanted to get into readings, doing readings on your own, readings for yourself, your friends, your family, starting a professional business, something like that. This is something that I'm going to be diving into extensively. There's going to be hours upon hours uploaded to that Patreon account for every single card and then in the major and the minor arcana of tarot, as well as when it comes to astrology, as well as too, I'm going to be offering sound bath meditations up there, guided meditations. I will be also uploading at least one Patreon exclusive pick a card reading per month that you will not be able to get on my channel. I'm sorry that it took me so long to get to this point where I was comfortable opening up a space for this, because, you know, me personally, my experience with tarot and astrology is like, it's not something that I necessarily feel like I learned from anyone else, but I just kind of developed my own interpretation of it. And so that's the same exact thing that I'm going to be doing in this space on my Patreon account. I'm not going to be teaching you because I don't feel as though astrology and tarot can be taught. I feel as though it can be explained, it can be examined, and then it is up to you to sort of decipher it through your own intuitive language and your own sort of comprehension of things. And that's what's going to really help you to develop this very extremely close relationship with your own intuition, with things like the stars, tarot, and different sort of esoteric language. And the reason why I'm not uploading this type of content to my channel is because I know most of the people that are subscribed here to this channel are here for the readings. You guys come here for the readings, and the last thing that I want to do is to start like bombarding this space, bombarding my channel with like a 3-hour video on the Fool card or just something crazy, you know what I mean? So I kind of wanted to keep this channel very focused on the readings and things like that, and then create a separate space where we could, all my tarot and astrology and esoteric lovers and occult lovers can kind of come to this space, and we can really have a conversation about these different things. So it's going to be more so of like a conversation style thing. You guys are going to have a lot more access, one-on-one access to me on Patreon versus here on the channel, where it's kind of very open and broad to basically anyone that wants to, you know, come over to this side of YouTube. So, you know, on Patreon, it'll be a lot more intimate. And so, yeah, like I said, I'm just really, really excited to get this Patreon going. There's another project that I've been working on for a very long time, but I'm taking my sweet ass time to really perfect that before I kind of tell you guys about it. You're actually going to be seeing it very soon. I'm just not going to be letting it on to you guys that this is a direction that I'm going in, but you will be able to see this other project very soon as well, possibly even in today's video. So let's just dive straight into this astrological breakdown of the upcoming 2 weeks based off of this recent full moon in the sign of Leo that happened January 28th. So let's get started. Okay, you guys, so very first thing we have to talk about here is Sun conjunct Jupiter exact in the sign of Aquarius. So there's something, you know what, actually, before we even get to that, let me just explain exactly what happened with this full moon. So a full moon is when the sun and moon are sitting in 180 degrees opposition of each other. And so it's kind of like when you're sitting on opposite ends of a dining table with someone, and you're sort of having like this face off in a sense. And so basically, that's kind of what happens when we have a full moon. We have this almost face off between our ego, the most sort of obvious parts of ourselves. That's what the sun represents. It represents our ego identity, and the moon represents the more so hidden parts of ourselves, the more so instinctive parts of ourselves. It represents our essence, our soul, our spirit, the thing that cannot be altered or changed about us. The moon represents, while the sun represents more so of this surface level that we are constantly evolving and changing. Now, moving on here, the very first placement that we need to talk about is Sun conjunct Jupiter exact in the sign of Aquarius. Now, with the Sun conjunct Jupiter, I think it was at what, the 24th or 25th degree. I'm not exactly sure. No, it wasn't at the 24th or 25th degree. It wouldn't be. I think it was at, I don't know. Where's my iPad? I don't even know where my damn iPad is. I can't even check. But anyways, Sun conjunct Jupiter exact happened during this full moon in the sign of Leo. And basically, this is all about feelings of capability. So it's like, in what areas of our life do we feel effective versus what other areas in our life do we feel handicapped in? Or what feels in our control versus out of our control? So like I said, the sun, which represents our ego, identity, the way that we see ourselves, the most obvious thing about us, the thing that draws in the most attention about us, was sitting in between Saturn, the ruler of discipline, challenges, fears, constructs, structure, and Jupiter, the ruler of wisdom, purpose, a higher plan, the guru. He also represents expansion, abundance, fortune, and good luck. This was all happening in the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius is all about perspective, free will, individuality, authenticity. So with the sun sitting in between Jupiter and Saturn, we can feel at this time over the next couple of weeks very swollen in our own energy. And this can play out one of two ways, where we feel like we are outgrowing ourselves in a sense, or an aspect of ourselves. So it's like shedding that old skin in a sense, and then expanding beyond what we previously thought we were capable of. And because of this, also at the same time, we can even feel eclipsed by our own energy. And this is mainly because Saturn is highly concentrated energy. It's all about focusing on that one target, that one goal, that one point. It's all about the destination. And Jupiter is all about expanding beyond that goal or that point, that target, that destination. So it may feel like you are expanding and contracting all at once. And this can play out as where you're feeling like you're making big progress and big leaps in one area of your life, but taking 10 steps backwards in another aspect or area of your life. And while we're in this Aquarius season, up until what would that be, like February 20th, Aquarius says to redesign the way that you see, think, and do things. And this is mainly because Aquarius despises being able to look back 6 months or a year from now and seeing itself in the exact same position. Aquarius wants to see progress. Aquarius wants to see results. So Aquarius is basically wanting to outdo or escape its own pitfalls by disrupting its own rhythm. So over the next 2 weeks, especially this Aquarius season up until February 20th, you may feel like you are self-sabotaging one part of your life, but you're not sabotaging it, you're actually revolutionizing it. And that was the only way for you to actually change it, because that is the essence of change, is chaos. That is what changes when we ask the universe, when we set intentions and we're trying to manifest something, when we're trying to bring in some sort of change or to let something go and release it, we are actually asking for chaos, for a part of our lives or our rhythm to be disrupted, to be interrupted. And so this Aquarius season is really setting up a climate where we may feel more tapped into a higher version of ourselves, or like we are more of ourselves than ever before. And so you may feel more triggered, explosive, demanding, punctual to the point, no beating around the bush, not playing no damn games. That Aquarius energy that's like, I want to see results. I don't care about all this talking. Let me see results. So a part of you may actually try or want to initiate your own tower or death card moment over the next couple of weeks, especially leading up to this new moon in the sign of Aquarius. And this is all about tearing everything down. That way you can rebuild from the inside out, rebuild from the core. So on the outside looking in, you may look random, impulsive, unpredictable, or like you're acting out of character. And this is basically because, like I said, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, the god of unpredictability and individuality and free will. He knows how to exercise his free will. That's why he's a trendsetter. So it's not that you're going to be acting out of character. It's the fact that Aquarius cannot be characterized. Aquarius does not have a character to assume. Nothing can be defined when it comes to Aquarius. Everything is out of character when it comes to Aquarius. And so, like I said, on the outside looking in, it may look like you're disrupting your own life, and people may be looking at you like, let's just say, for instance, that you decide to break up with someone. And it's not that they did anything horrible or terrible, you know, it's not that they actually violated the relationship in any way, but maybe you're just feeling like, you know what, I just know in my bones right now that I need to be alone, that I need to focus on this, I need to focus on my health, I need to focus on my career, I need to focus on something else besides this relationship or besides my social life, something like that. This is just an example. And so basically, you may break up with that person, and on the outside looking in, your friends, your family may be like, what happened? I thought you guys were doing great, or whatever the case. And you may have zero explanation for them, where you're like, I don't know. And Aquarius is ruled by the crown chakra. So that means that our crown may be a lot more open at this time, especially if you work with chakras regularly and you maintain their hygiene regularly. Then your crown may be very open, where you're receiving a lot of this higher, more divine guidance. And so this information may be trickling down to you a lot more easy. And that may be why you're feeling like, I need to leave this relationship. I need to leave this friendship. I need to give this a shot. I need to give this a chance. I need to leave this job. I need to retire. I need to do this. I need to do that. It might not be leaving. It might be stepping into something, or it might just be changing, revolutionizing something, changing something up. But either which way, it's coming from this higher guidance that we don't necessarily understand. Do we always understand our intuition? Hell no. We almost never understand our intuition. All it's for us to do is to listen to it, to be guided by it, and to trust it. And so this is our higher self guiding us and saying, hey, I can see a lot more than you, because I'm at this higher perspective. I'm at like a bird's eye view looking down. And so when we're down here in the 3D realm, in the tangible realm, we may be working with a lower level of consciousness. That's okay. It's natural. It's nothing wrong with it. But the thing is that when we're dealing with things in our life, like an issue or an argument, it may feel like it's so big. It may feel like this problem is right up in your face, where it's just like, damn, I don't know if I am big enough or capable enough to handle this. I don't know if I'm capable enough to make this dream or this goal come true. I don't know if I'm capable enough to stick with this diet, to stick with this business plan, to save money so I can buy my home, my dream car. Aquarius season comes here and says, yes, the fuck you are. You are extremely capable. And you don't need to know how capable you are. All you have to do is do it. You know how they say that the hardest step is just making that first move? If you're thinking to yourself like, I'm an Aquarius and I'm nothing like that, or I know Aquariuses and they're nothing like that. I'm not talking about you as an Aquarius or the Aquariuses that you know, because you have an entire natal chart that has a lot of different things going on that makes you a very specific sort of Aquarius or Libra or Gemini or Capricorn or whatever you are. Okay, so now let's move on here to Mercury in the sign of Aquarius. And so this is interesting because Mercury is preparing to go retrograde. I believe Mercury will be going retrograde tomorrow. Yeah, I believe Mercury is going retrograde on the 30th of this month. So that means that technically Mercury is already in retro shade, where he's starting to slow down before he goes into complete retrograde mode. Retrograde happens when a planet starts to slow down. So here, from our perspective on planet Earth, it looks like the planet is moving backwards, when in reality it's just slowed down. This is very much like the Hermit card in tarot, where you really go inside to start reflecting and looking at your own essence, looking at your own energy. And so when we have retrogrades, it's just a time for these planets and the energy to slow down. That the way we can kind of catch up with it. Another thing that retrogrades can do is they can really sort of make things permanent by setting in all these different changes and things that we've experienced. It can almost, in a sense, make us a little bit stuck in our ways, because that energy just sort of sitting. So this makes the energy of these planets extremely potent and extremely palpable. When a planet is sitting still, you would think that when a planet is moving thousands of miles per hour that it's more potent then, but actually it's more intense when it's sitting still. It's just feeding and marinating on its own energy. Planets, when they're retrograde, we feel them a lot quicker. We see their results a lot quicker. We feel them a lot more intensely. Mercury will be going retrograde in all air signs this year. Last year in 2020, Mercury went retrograde in all water signs. And that was why last year a lot of things were sort of focused on fulfillment, emotional contentment, emotional peace, getting divorced, getting married, having babies, starting a family, breaking away from certain groups and associations and people, and trying to find that peace within our own self. This year, it's going to be all mental. It's going to be more of a mental chase this year, where we are learning how to deal with our own mindset, our own mental state. So that's going to be the focus of 2021. And I don't know if you guys remember me saying this last month in December of 2020, where I mentioned to you guys that 2021 seems to be a very mental year. It seems to be like there's something that can affect us mentally that we're not necessarily aware of just yet. Now, this was before I actually looked into where Mercury is going to be going retrograde all this year. And I found out later on that Mercury is going to be going retrograde in all air signs when I looked at the charts. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense why I picked that up intuitively in December. So yeah, this is going to be a very mental year. Mercury is very able to keep up with Aquarius because Mercury is a ruler of the mind. Communication, interpretation. I've always seen Mercury as the bridge, the god that bridges together or creates this bridge that the way two entities can connect to each other. This is why Mercury can rule languages or technology, things like that, because when you think about it, if it wasn't for technology or Mercury, you guys would not be able to see me on YouTube. I would not be able to know you guys, Mercury helps it so that we can connect to somebody on the opposite end of the world without knowing them, without ever even meeting them physically. So Mercury rules that sort of connection between two separate entities, no matter how far apart they are or how close they are. And so Mercury doesn't just connect the bridge here within the physical realm, but Mercury can also connect the bridge of communication between us here on Earth and other entities and other beings and other energies in different dimensions. So Mercury is that gatekeeper that kind of sits there and says, hey, if you're trying to get in touch with somebody in a different continent, a different country, or in a different dimension, a different galaxy, you got to go through me. And so Mercury is really able to keep up with Aquarius, but he won't be able to necessarily mentally process all these changes that he's going to be inducing until he is retrograde and he's able to sit back and be like, damn, I really just ended my relationship for no good reason. Going back to that example, or I just retired, or I just quit my job, or I just up and moved, or I just up and did this, So we may feel a little bit impulsive and we won't be able to really process all these changes that we may be inducing in our own lives until Mercury goes retrograde. What seems random is not random. Make no mistake that this action that you may do over the next couple of weeks or during Aquarius season is not random, because Mercury has been in Aquarius for a while. He was actually preparing to exit out of Aquarius before he goes retrograde. But now that he's going retrograde, he's going to be going right back through Aquarius again. And so this option you have already seen, you've already surveyed it. You may have even thought about it without consciously realizing it. It was more so in our unconscious where we were surveying these options. So going back to that example where you just up and break up with your partner because you're like, I need to really focus on something else right now. We've been sort of thinking about, what if I do this? What if I do that? But we never actually took that option seriously. But maybe we lacked the presence, power, authority, confidence, or resources to actually act on that choice or that thought back then. Maybe we didn't have a good enough reason. But now during this Aquarius season, it's like we're starting to actually rationalize why these random decisions and actions and choices may be a good move for us. Now I'm more in alignment with making that sort of action or decision than I was back then. And so this can also translate too as a lot of different signs and synchronicities coming to you where you were like, wow, I noticed that back then, but I didn't think that it was going to impact me. I didn't think that it was going to affect me. I didn't think that I needed to worry about it. Maybe we were too distracted, or we didn't care enough to actually make a move on it. Maybe we see certain things. We see certain things all the time. Signs, synchronicity, messages that we get that we never act on. And so don't judge yourself if you're like, I was getting these red flags 3-6 months ago, and then you find out, for example, like, oh, my best friend was talking about me behind my back or something like that. And I kind of figured this maybe 3 or 6 months ago, but I ignored it. Back then you weren't feeling it wasn't feeling as necessary for you to make a move. But now you are feeling more capable to get out of it. And that's why I was saying this full moon has really kicked off feelings of us feeling capable. So in other words, there may have been like, I knew this was coming sort of moment that you may not have wanted to see before, or maybe you were too busy or distracted before to actually take it seriously. Now, moving on here, to Venus and Pluto conjunct, exact, in the sign of Capricorn for this full moon that happened January 28th. So Venus sees the beauty, right, and change and transformation, because Venus rules beauty, harmony, symmetry, balance, seduction, sensuality, all the things that makes life beautiful. Venus rules. Like I called her in the recent video that I posted a couple weeks ago, I called her the trophy wife of the zodiac. And Pluto is the planet that is the furthest planet from our sun in our solar system. So Pluto represents darkness, and Venus and Pluto both operate on the frequency of the divine feminine to some people. Now, not everyone sees Venus and Pluto as feminine energy. It's going to be different per person. Venus and Pluto and the moon, for instance, and Neptune are considered to be feminine energies. That's how I see them as well. I describe them as well. I've been describing them this way as kind of like mother, maiden, crone. And so you could see the maiden as Venus and maybe Neptune, the mother is the moon, and the crone is Pluto. And so when we're dealing with Pluto, this is all about the darkness, the dark sides of us that we do not identify with. This is the sides of us that we're unaware of, that we are unconscious of, as well as too, Pluto represents transformation, power, manipulation, influence, control. So there's a lot that, and Pluto can also represent as well intimacy. This is creating the atmosphere for us to be able to see the beauty and change and transformation, but as well as too, and this is the interesting thing here, is this is like a very sedative energy. So if you've ever had surgery before, you know, in the hospitals, they got that good shit where you don't even care what they do to you. They could start like operating on you right then and there, and you're just like, shit, I'm good. Y'all do what y'all got to do. You know, that's the kind of energy that Venus and Pluto conjunct exact in the sign of Capricorn is conjuring up for us physically. It's a very sedative energy. And so there's almost a certain level of seduction to it where we almost don't realize what is happening because we're very numb emotionally. And so this is what kind of happens when we are disrupting our own energy. It causes us in a sense to detach from our emotions. And this is why Aquarius can be seen as very cold energy, and that is why Aquarius also rules a star card in the major arcana of tarot, because the star comes directly after what? The Tower card, where she went through this very traumatic, tragic event. She is stripped of everything and she's just starting to stand back up. And this is basically because she is in this numb space. It's almost very euphoric for her, where she's in this state of shock, like, I cannot believe that this just happened. You know, yes, I'm still here, I'm still alive, but all of her senses haven't necessarily come back to her. So she's still in this state of shock in a sense. And that's what Aquarius season in the next couple of weeks especially can end up feeling like to us, is just like we're in the state of shock. Very numb, very sedative sort of energy, like I'm not necessarily here, almost like an out-of-body experience. Like we are watching ourselves live our own life, but we're not necessarily experiencing it in this first person point of view. Very strange, odd energy Aquarius can really produce for us. And so this sedative energy, it's almost a defense mechanism in a way to protect us, because we can sense or feel a very big or intense moment coming, or we know that, like, if I want my life to end up over here, I'm gonna have to induce this really huge shift. This can also seduce us in a way as well to intercepting our own transformation, where we're like, you know what? I don't want to change. I don't want this to happen, because maybe all we can see that may come out of this change is despair, grief, loss, misery, and the unknown. So there's this very interesting sort of paradox here where you can kind of feel either or like I said, there may be one area in your life where you are feeling almost sedated, and another area in your life where you're feeling very anxious, worried, nervous, scared, excited even. Again, though, this all comes back to perspective, and the planets, this full moon created an atmosphere for us where we're able to escape our own perspective. So over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be extremely easy for us to actually transcend our root chakra. And the root chakra is, and it's at the base of the spine, it's the color red. And basically that chakra is what coincides with our feelings of security, survival instincts. How secure are you feeling in your own life? How safe are you feeling in your own life? When you have a disrupted root chakra, you can act from a place of fear, or that survival's mode sort of kicks in, where you're just doing things just to survive. Another thing that this next 2 weeks can really help us to do is to move on from the past, to forgive, and to find closure with or without that other party or that other person that we may need closure with. This can help us to close doors on the past over the next couple of weeks. So if you're somebody that struggles with the difficulty of letting things go, forgiving, moving on from the past, which we all have, we've all struggled with that. That has been the story of my damn life. I am so fixed that it's just like, once I'm on that energy with somebody, it's like, oh, fuck you all the way. But one thing too that I've kind of learned to do is like, it's a huge waste of time and energy and effort for me to hold on to grudges and negative feelings. And I've noticed that the more that I've released those feelings towards certain people that have seriously wounded me or hurt me, my entire life just changes for the absolute better. But it's very difficult. It's almost unnatural for a human to forgive someone that has hurt them or wounded them, you know? Like, even animals remember when something or someone has hurt them or injured them. That's just natural because it threatens our survival. We are able to escape our own perspective. And that's all that healing and forgiveness is when you can be placed out of your own perspective, so that the way it's not so personal for you, where you're like, wow, they really hurt me. But when you're able to escape your own perspective and stand outside of yourself, almost like in this third person point of view, that's almost like an out of body experience, where you're just like, you know what, I'm not so connected to my own emotions anymore, because that's what Aquarius season does. That's what Aquarius energy does. It detaches us from our emotions. That the way we can let go of the trauma and the tragedies that we experienced. But that is exactly what healing is. We have to put ourselves in a different perception. Every time that we look at something that wounded us or hurt us from our own eyes, we're always going to take that personally. We're always going to be biased about that, because we're looking from our own lens. We have to step out of our own way. Aquarius helps us to escape or transcend out of our own perspective. Once you let that go, you can get back to focusing on you and living your best fucking life, because that's the whole point, right? Now, the final thing that I want to talk about here is Moon in Leo opposing damn near everyone for this full moon in Leo that we just had. Now, even though that full moon in Leo happened yesterday, what this can really sort of manifest for us is many of us will feel severed from our emotions for this full moon and for the couple of weeks following this full moon in the sign of Leo. And so it may feel like you cannot connect to a deeper part of yourself. You may feel very disconnected from your instincts, from your intuition, from your emotions, from your internal self, from your essence, from your core. Not because your ancestors or your spiritual team, not because the universe or spirit or your angels have abandoned you, and so you might not be hearing any messages right now. Some of you may not have been receiving or hearing any sort of messages. You may notice that your dreams have stopped. You may notice that, like, I'm not hearing from my spiritual team like normal. My intuition isn't really speaking as loudly to me like normal, because sometimes the intuition knows how to be quiet. Like I said earlier, the higher self trickles down information to us. So it's not constantly feeding us information. Sometimes there's breaks in those moments of information that comes to us. It's like I said, your crown chakra is extremely open for Aquarius season, but there may be a little bit of a break in between where you don't really hear anything. The intuition speaks in a very strange language. And if you have not studied your own intuitive language, because you have your very own exclusive intuitive language, if you have not taken the time to study it, to learn it, then of course it's going to take a lot of damn time for you to understand what your higher self is telling you. And your intuitive language, for instance, it looks like your dreams. There's a lot of very common dreams that everyone has, but it means something different for each and every soul. Now, there's an unconscious language that every being speaks, and this stems from the law of mentalism that Jehudi, otherwise known as Thoth, teaches us, which is that we are connected to one brain in a sense unconsciously. And this is why you can go get a tarot reading done online and be like, how the hell did you know that? They don't know that. I don't know that. Nobody knows that. They know how to tap into that unconscious mind, that unconscious reservoir of knowledge that knows everything about you. Now, they might not be able to tap into your own language because that's a bit more specific and it's a bit more exclusive and it's a bit more sacred. And it's meant to be just between you and spirit. But when it comes to that unconscious language, it's easy for them to be like, I'm getting this or I'm getting that. And so most of the time, an intuitive person, somebody that's not bullshitting you, they're going to tell you like, I don't know these things about you. You know, I don't know why I'm seeing the color red, or I don't know why I'm seeing a bird, or I don't know why I'm seeing this. I don't know why I'm getting that word. They're not going to know why they're getting it, but it's going to make sense for you. Moon in Leo, as well as because this full moon in Leo, it had a very strange air to it because of the simple fact that Leo is ruled by the sun. If you are a Leo moon or a Cancer sun, you are somebody that has a very strange relationship or dynamic or pendulum swing between your ego and your essence. So you may feel like you are constantly phasing in and out of this very internal sacred part of you and this very external, almost extroverted part of you. Or sun in your fourth house even. You can have sun in your fourth house. Like my sun's in my fourth house and my moon is in Leo. So it took me a long time to get comfortable with my emotions. I'm not gonna lie. I used to hardly ever cry. I remember I went like 3 years without ever shedding a tear. It's like I can dive very deeply into my emotions where it's like I'm just feeling everything and I just need to shut down my life for 2 or 3 days and just feel this and let this phase out. Or I'm extremely disconnected from my emotions and I'm completely living through ego. And so it's taken me my entire life and I'm still figuring it out, how to balance that out. It's really wild. It's really crazy. But I always say now I look at it as like, wow, I'm definitely blessed with very intense or potent sun and moon energies, which I absolutely love it now. But my entire life, I struggled with that very, very intensely, where I was either extremely disconnected from my emotions or extremely disconnected from my identity, not knowing who I was. So like I said, this can definitely conjure up a strange collection of feelings where there's hardly any separation between your essence and ego, or your surface and your core. And like I said, this is because they're in such close proximity of each other, the sun and the moon. And it's not like it's multiple layers that you're dealing with. It's like it's just a very dual being that always can shift between its ego and its internal self, or its soul, its spirit. And this can cause very abrasive shifts and fluctuations in your energy and your mood. This can cause extreme mood swings, extreme swings of the pendulum. This can also as well make us fear emotional intelligence and our emotional body. So it's going to be very important during Aquarius season, especially over the next couple of weeks though, that we don't get into the space where we despise our emotions, or we're annoyed with them, or we're frustrated with them. If you feel like you need to cry every other day, do it. Whatever it is that you are feeling, tend to those feelings. All right, you guys, so some advice that I have in terms of working with the next couple of weeks and how to stay nice and centered over the next couple of weeks is to focus on red colored foods, clothes, crystals, colors, anything like that. And so with this full moon in Leo that just passed like yesterday, it came to me to actually end up working with the sun and not just the moon. So sun gazing, things like that, leaving, you know how like we'll make like moon water and things like that, you know, make some sun water. Leave some water underneath the sun and allow that solar energy to sort of bake itself into, or infuse itself into your water. You can drink that, use it in a bath, in your offerings, your, you know, ritual offerings, things like that. And so I ended up working with the sun. One way that in particular that I'm really going to be working with myself and these energies over the next couple of weeks, really keep myself nice and grounded, is with salt. You guys already know. I kind of showed you guys a few months ago one of my own personal salt mixtures that I use. I showed you guys my own personal recipe when it comes to black salt. But this time around for this full moon in Leo, I actually ended up working with the sun and I created this red salt mix right here. And so I used some red crystals, carnelian, you know, dragon's blood it was infused with, and I allowed it to sort of sit under the sun and to really soak up the sun's rays. And so it's kind of like I have a bottle of the sun it's kind of like I have some solar energy in this bottle right here. And so I'll be using the hell out of this over the next couple of weeks, honestly, like in things like in my food, because I cook a lot, as well as I've been using the salt on my altar. I've been actually like sprinkling some of this around my altar when I'm setting intentions, stuff like that. I've even used, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to be using this probably come Tuesday or Friday. I'll be using this one in a offering as I make an offering to the energies that I work with, because I leave an offering, a food offering every single week, twice a week, every single week to some energies that I work with. And another thing too that you can do, if you know, whether or not you're using salt or something else, in oil, crystals, what I'm going to be personally doing is taking this and putting this at like near my root chakra and meditating with that as it's on my root chakra to really draw out anything that's blocking my root chakra, because that's what salt is really good for. And this is why I love using salt. I got really heavily into using salt last year, 2020, and I learned so much about mixing it together with all these different herbs and ingredients and stuff like that, using it all these different, there's so many different ways that you can use salt. So I went ham. I was prepared for this full moon in Leo, because like I told you guys, I'm a Leo moon, and every year that the Leo moon hits, it knocks me on my ass. So I was prepared this year. I actually used the sunset to charge this one, and I used the rising sun to charge this yellow salt right here. Now this yellow salt, because I made a few different salts for this full moon in Leo and I used all that energy, but with this yellow salt right here, I'll definitely be using on my solar plexus chakra, as well as too, as you guys can see, I've already used a little bit of it here. So I'll be using this one for like in my food offerings at my altar. This one I'll be using in my bath, and or maybe even as a scrub as well. And then I also made a third one with the energy of this full moon, and I actually made this one dedicated to my throat chakra, because we were heading into Mercury retrograde, and I wanted to make sure I could keep my communication, my throat chakra open. That way I could effectively communicate throughout Mercury retrograde, because Mercury retrograde also kind of tosses me on my ass a little bit every now and again when it comes to communicating and my communication style. So and actually, since I've been using this, I had a really great conversation with someone a couple of days ago, and I was like, I didn't like the way we left off on that conversation, so I came back and, you know, we kind of talked about things from a different point, and I really do feel like it helped with this. So yeah, or I feel like this is what actually helped me to kind of realize, like, you know what, maybe I need to try that again. But I'm definitely using this. So work with colors that really mean something to you in a way, or really set out to you in a certain way. You can work with your chakras, you can work with light therapy, because like my entire home, I've got LED lights everywhere. So it's like in my room, especially my bedroom, I like to kind of set the mood, set the tone with some red lights, and like to get really, 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 really dark. I love doing that. I love getting it like pitch black in my house, and then maybe turning on a couple of lights, and that, I don't know what it is, but it's just something about like my energy just soaks up that light energy. So maybe even buying like a few bulbs that are different colors, especially if you're dealing with like anxiety, anything like that, a really busy mind that just keeps running. I'm excited to actually really work with this, and I've been working with this, and it's been, for me, it's this past Leo full moon, I bodied it. It's because of these salts. So yeah, anything with colors, crystals, lights. On pile 2, blue kyanite. And on pile 3, amethyst. right, pile one, welcome to your reading. So let's get started with your tarot cards, then we'll check out your oracle cards. I'll also be shuffling a few more oracle cards or a couple more on camera to see what's up with your next 2 weeks. So let's get started. The very first card that we have here is the Knight of Swords in reverse. And then we have the Hermit. Very interesting. Going into this retrograde energy, this Mercury retrograde, and the Hermit is very much like a retrograde energy. It operates on a retrograde sort of frequency. And then we have here, oh, the Six of Wands. Okay. So with the Hermit and the Six of Wands right here, pile one, you might not have a lot of physical results just yet over the next couple of weeks. I feel as though you're being prepared for a major win, or you're being prepared for a major chapter over the next couple of weeks. Now, the Knight of Swords in reverse here, there's not a lot of movement and results just yet, like I was saying, over the next 2 weeks. For my pile ones, this is all about getting ready for what is to come, for what is on its way to you, what's about to be discovered. The Hermit represents one of the most intense journeys in tarot. It can represent the entirety of a journey. Like, this is an entire journey happening in one card. So imagine if you compressed the entire suit of wands or cups or pentacles or swords into one card, it would be the Hermit. The Hermit may feel like the next 2 weeks is a bit bland, maybe not a lot going on, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're feeling this intense need or desire to understand, to search for understanding, or to go and search for what you think will fulfill you. So this Hermit energy will feel a lot more exciting for you because it's all about baby steps, pile one. Let's say that you want to start something like a business, right? Let's say you wanted to start like a YouTube channel, let's say. The next 2 weeks is about getting organized, figuring out the painstaking details, like what are you going to be talking about, getting your videos organized, figuring out how to do thumbnails, downloading like editing software, things like that, getting all the boring stuff out of the way, because when we are full into this Mercury retrograde, that's when it'll be revealed to you that there was an issue with a certain plan all along. Maybe you didn't have your editing software all the way figured out. Maybe you didn't have the right camera, you know, maybe your mic needed work or something like that, and you're just now figuring all these things out. Maybe you needed a tripod, and because you're starting to focus on the boring, monotonous details of it, you're starting to see where there's a few cracks in the pavement here. Also, with this Hermit and Six of Wands, the message is learning how to slow down over the next 2 weeks. Don't push forward with anything until you feel absolutely ready. Don't let time pressure you, or the fear of missing out on something pressure you, or make you feel like you have to just up and do something or jump and do something. What's for you is for you, pile one, and it will not pass you by. This is about learning how to slow down over the next 2 weeks so you can mentally and emotionally prepare for this really big Six of Wands moment, which is alluding to your success somewhere. Whatever you are looking forward to is on the way. Get ready for it. I also want to say, I believe that the next 6 months for you guys will be very busy and extremely transformative for you in terms of personal victories and success. So the next 2 weeks for sure may feel or seem to be a bit slow or uneventful, but that's because you've got a very busy next few months coming up. And this is almost like the universe's way of giving you a little bit of a break or a pause moment, like a recess before things really pick up for you. I also want to say too, for your relationship, don't rush into any big conversations without thinking about what you need to say. You may have a big conversation with someone, friend, romantic partner, family member, that has a short attention span. That's the best way that I can kind of describe them. Like, they have a short attention span. They can't like really focus on intense or heavy energy for that long. And because of that, you need to sort of know what you are feeling and thinking and to communicate that plainly to them. So make sure that you have an idea about exactly what you need to get off your chest, because the Hermit is opening this opportunity for you to say something that you've been needing to say or never had a chance to address before. And before that moment passes, make sure that you have everything organized in your mind and figured out, so that way you can cover everything. Now, let me also pull a romance card for you guys. Let me pull one for my singles and then one for my relationship people. So pile 1, singles. Ooh, 2 came out for you. Healing family issues and give your relationship a chance. Yeah, like I was talking about, this is going to be, don't rush into any sort of big conversation without really figuring things out first. And so for some of you too, you may be having a big conversation with your family, because somehow in some way your family may be affecting your romantic life or your partnership or your dating life, something like that. You know, they may have maybe too much to say, maybe too much of a hand in your dating life. And so for sure, you may need to give your relationship a chance with or without your family's approval, with or without your family really being that involved. So this may be calling for a little bit more independence as well with this Hermit and the 6 of Wands right here when it comes to your romantic life. Now let's see when it comes to my couples over the next couple of weeks. Okay, 2 cards again. Free yourself and forgiving and learning. Okay, so there may be something that you need to free yourself from in your relationship that you're still sort of holding on to. Maybe an old argument, an old conversation, an old betrayal, something like that, that you may need to have a conversation about, or you just need to let it go. You need to free yourself, especially if you guys have exhausted all efforts talking about this over and over and over again with this Knight of Swords in reverse. And this Hermit right here is saying that your answers are not outside, they're more so internal. So if there is something going on in your relationship where it's just like, you know what, I'm still holding on to this, try to learn how to let it go, or try to see why you are having such a difficulty moving forward when it comes to that, because there does need to be some level of forgiveness and also learning from the past instead of just being upset or angry about it, because that's not really going to get you anywhere. Being upset or angry about it, I feel as though you're past that, especially with this Knight of Swords in reverse right here. And now you're ready to be more successful in your relationship maybe. And in order for that to happen, you have to really free yourself from it by forgiving and learning from the past and anything that you or your partner may have done. Make sure that you are ready to give yourself and your partner a clean slate. Okay, now I'm going to move these down here. And let's get to your self-help cards for the next couple of weeks. So let's see, for next week, let's get a self-help card for next week. Okay, self-help card for next week. We have make an altar. So you guys, pile 1, make an altar next week if you can. Try to, or if you already have an altar, make sure that you're tending to it. Make sure that you clean it. Make sure you keep it organized. Make sure that you dust it off, that you dress it up, that you do something different with it this week. If you don't have an altar, try to make a small altar this week. Just something that makes you feel serene, calm, quiet, cool, collected. Something that doesn't have you too in your head or anything like that, especially with this Knight of Swords in reverse right here. And let's see, a self-help card for the week after. And we have here, connect with your womb, you guys. So for sure, this has something to do with your femininity, connecting with your femininity, connecting with the moon, if you can, the moon cycles, working with the moon, working with things that are a bit more sensual. Like I said, making an altar, I'm not really feeling like you need to do something super intense unless you intuitively feel like you need to do something a little bit more intense, like a really elaborate altar space or something like that. But more so than anything, I'm just kind of feeling like you need to reconnect to a creative space, something where it's like getting the energy changed up or something like that, where it's like maybe if you've had the same sort of crystals or something on your altar, changing it up that way every time you look at it, you feel this burst of new energy, this burst of newness that's coming, instead of just kind of looking at the same sort of dead space. So this connect with your womb here for me is saying to get really creative when it comes to your space, your living environment, your home, your altar space, sacred areas, things like that. Get really, really serious when it comes to creating just this new space with fresh new energy. Okay, let's take a look at your practical advice for the next couple of weeks. And we have here, you are good enough, full moon in Virgo. Okay, so you may be struggling with this question the next couple of weeks, pile one. And a lot of this has to do with not putting yourself out there just yet, because a part of you knows with this Hermit card down here, especially as well, that I'm not ready to surrender myself to other people's opinions. I need to figure out what I want or how I feel first before involving other people in the mix. So take your time right now, pile one, because this is a lot of Virgo energy in your reading. You may be a Virgo or have a lot of placements in Virgo or in your 6th house. But this feeling of, am I capable? Like what we talked about in the astrological portion of this video may make you hesitant, sort of like this Knight of Swords right here in reverse as well. And it may make you second guess yourself. So getting organized will help your confidence supremely over the next 2 weeks, because you've got success in your future, obviously with the 6 of Wands down here. It's a matter of being able to feel successful already, and you might not feel that way if you are unorganized or procrastinating. And that's another big thing to watch out for, pile one, is procrastinating. Make sure that if you have something to do, break down your schedule that the way it's not too overwhelming, and your sleep as well may be screwed up over the next 2 weeks. So do everything in your power to get a full night's rest, because that will also help to keep your mind organized and not too busy. Okay, so you're definitely working with a lot of Virgo energy over the next 2 weeks. So your routine is going to be very, very important, and your routine is what's going to ensure that you have a very successful next 2 weeks, and that it's not too confusing, and that it's not too overwhelming, too stressful is what I'm picking up. And your final card that we have for you from the Mother Kali Ma is Bhuvanesvari. I believe I'm saying that correctly. So I'm gonna get the book and I'm gonna read what this card means. So give me a second. And so it says, our cosmic mother is the light bringer, the sun and the moon, the light of renewal and healing. She is the divine voice, the sound of creation, the sublime note that births a golden era. Hers is the capacity to create a clean slate and a fresh start. She is hope and she is a rising. She protects and preserves that which is worthy of the heart. She shines in a perpetual state of divine beauty and radiance, reigniting our creative fires and attracting to us the most supportive and honoring circumstances. Her presence signifies utmost grace. So this is going to be all about having a very graceful next couple of weeks. And like I said, not being too discombobulated, too confused, getting really, really organized, you guys, is going to be very, very important for my pile ones to ensure that you feel like you've had a very successful next couple of weeks, especially when it comes to the end of this month and the end of this Mercury retrograde. That's really going to help keep you nice, grounded, and center, as well as an altar space, a sacred space, even writing things out with this Virgo energy here, which I know Virgo doesn't have that much to do with writing, but really writing out your feelings will also help to organize your thoughts, organize your emotions. It's all about organization for you over the next couple of weeks, pile one. Okay, so this is all that I'm seeing for you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I want to thank your guides, my guides, our higher self, amazing spirit, for these messages. Hopefully you all come back to visit sometime soon. And until next time, stay safe, healthy, blessed, and keep conquering the world. All right, and pile number 2, welcome to your reading. So we are starting with your tarot cards, then we'll check out your oracle cards, and I'll also be pulling some additional oracle cards on camera to see what your 2 weeks has in store. So let's get started. Very first card that we have here is the 9 of Wands. You're feeling tired, huh? Pile 2, feeling a little bit tired, a little bit fed up, or exhausted with something. And then we have here, 6 of Swords in reverse, definitely feeling a bit tired, maybe even running from something that you feel that you can't escape, that you feel is just the outcome's never going to change, the circumstances are never going to change. You may be losing a little bit of faith here. And I feel like this is past tense energy. I don't feel like this is happening over the next couple of weeks. I feel like this is how you are moving into this next couple of weeks, is having lost a little bit of faith in something. Next card that we have here is the Knight of Wands. Okay, so either that or you've been running frantic, trying to make something happen. Very busy, almost a little too busy. I feel like you are watching something possibly pass you by, or like you missed your boat, your opportunity, and now you are left without, or have to go without, and now it's up to you to make something happen out of thin air. Now it's up to you to create, to materialize these resources, this opportunity out of thin air. And it's like you missed your connection, you missed your ride, you missed that thing that was going to bridge you to that opportunity. And you feel like now that that bridge is torn down, now that that bridge isn't available to you anymore or accessible to you anymore. This could have been a falling out with someone, and it's like, well, now that I don't have them as help or a resource or, you know, something like that, now I got to make this happen on my own. So, you know, there's an exhaustion here with my pile twos, but trust in the fact that you have every resource and you have the skill and the desire to make this happen. The next 2 weeks is calling out to you, pile two, to have faith, because it may look like something has passed you by or like you've lost your opportunity and like you're never going to get that opportunity again. Someone is really trying to make a run for you, which may sound weird, but over the next couple of weeks, someone really wants to move on from a pause moment with you. Like maybe you guys haven't been in contact or haven't seen each other, but someone would very much like to pick back up where they left off. It'll be up to you, but you may feel a bit suffocated, almost like they're moving too fast or wanting too much too soon after you have already learned how to live without them, you know? And so your life may have seemed more peaceful or like a relief not having them around as much. And I'm not seeing like huge offenses here that they've done to you, but it does seem like you are not as needy or desperate to get things back to where they were with them. I see you personally having more respect for where you guys are at currently and not being in denial about the current state of this relationship. And instead of ignoring it, you seem to be more transparent and realistic about where things are and where they can go from here, the potential that this relationship has. But someone wants to ignore the hard conversations or truth, you know? And another thing over the next couple of weeks is you may feel a bit stuck on something that you really want to move forward with, like a project, job, school, maybe it's your health or weight. You could be waiting on some news, especially if you're waiting on like a contract or a license to come in the mail, something like that. And it's like things go dead quiet or they really come to a halt over the next couple of weeks. But this is just the effects, the after effects of Mercury retrograde hitting you in your personal life. And what I mean when I say it's the effects of Mercury retrograde, like after this 2 weeks, you may find out that license you were waiting on, for instance, if that's the case, maybe it got lost in the mail, you know, over the last 2 weeks. But because on your end, you really don't know what's going on, you're not really getting any sort of information, you're not being kept up to speed with what's happening, it's kind of left this space for you to sort of worry about things, have a little bit of anxiety. So try not to worry too much because like I said, this is going to be resolved very quickly. It's just the effects of Mercury retrograde. So something may get lost in transit, in the mail, maybe communication gets a little jumbled up because of some sort of like technological issues. Whatever it is, it's not big. So this is definitely a temporary pause, pile two. Things have not slowed down. All is not lost. Nothing has gone wrong. It is all a part of the plan, the bigger plan. So wait out the next couple of weeks because out of nowhere, boom, things pick up quickly with this Knight of Wands right here. So it's like a door may temporarily close this week or next because it's under construction and it has nothing to do with you or your efforts, but a window will be open in the meantime as well until that door is back open and fully functional. So in other words, this is really good news that looks like a silent moment. So take this opportunity to rest physically, mentally, and emotionally. Another thing as well, pile two, is to watch out for your communication style over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to pull some more cards here just to kind of look into your relationship. But yeah, be careful of that because if you're not careful, if you're not cautious enough, it may appear like you or someone else is overstepping a boundary when they want to be the ones to deal with something on their own, solely on their own and in their own time. Kind of goes back to the first message about someone being a bit too pushy with you. So this could be you being a bit too pushy with someone else or someone else doing this to you. Take it as it resonates though. This could also feel like you don't come to your defense quickly enough or loudly enough over the next 2 weeks with the Six of Swords in reverse and this Nine of Wands right here. Like maybe someone says something out of the way and you don't tell them off or you don't correct them or you don't say, hey, like have more respect. And so you may walk away from an encounter or a conversation that makes you feel a little bit icky. This could also be too somebody not knowing their damn place and not knowing what is appropriate and what isn't. It's like their appropriate filter just isn't wired correctly. It's like they're just a very inappropriate person. So they may say something inappropriate, do something inappropriate, and you almost have to like smack them back in line in a sense, verbally maybe. It leaves you feeling possibly even a bit wounded or disempowered or a little disgusted. And you might want to go back and set the record straight and be like, hey, like, I didn't like that. But this is the after effects of something that I'm picking up, like getting angry maybe like an hour later or a day later, you know, like after you've had time to sit and really think about it and realize like, I really didn't like that. Let me go right back over there and confront them. You know, let me say something about this. Let me put this back in check. Let me put this back in order. And so, yeah, it's kind of like being like, this is like a late fuck you in a sense, you know, and kind of wanting to rush back into that exchange or that conversation, but be careful about being too dramatic or theatrical. Really think about if it is worth it, because let's say that you do go back and hunt this person down and give them a piece of your mind after the fact. It may create an even bigger issue or a scene. And the key is to release that uncomfortable feeling of rushing back in to collect your pride from someone. Think about that first, because what you say, pile 2, may have an adverse side effect that you were not expecting, where you feel even worse about how you handled a conversation, especially if this is between you and your child. Let me say that, or you and a parent, but especially you and your child is really coming through here. For some of my pile 2s, really think about how to talk to them, because it's delicate and there's a lot more going on that you are not immediately aware of just yet. So be a bit patient. Do not rush in and demand answers or try to force them to talk. If this is your relationship as well, a romantic partner, don't try to force them to talk. Don't try to force them to, you know, don't be like, I know you have something more to tell me. I know you're feeling some type of way. Don't come at them like, I know, and you're not giving to me. You know, I know that you're not giving everything to me, or I know you're not telling me everything. I know you're not giving me all the information. I know you're not giving me all of your peace of mind. There's a little bit of passive aggressiveness here, possibly coming from your end or their end or both of you guys' end. And it's like you don't really want to force this in any which direction. So really think about how you talk to them, okay? Because like I said, it's a bit delicate. So don't rush in and demand answers. But some of you feel like very strong Aries energy. Your sun, moon, rising, or Mars may be in Aries or Mercury, or a Cancer even, I'm picking up. So be careful about making something about you this week, pile 2. You could even be a Taurus, Virgo, Scorpio. This is just like, it's just like something isn't missing and you're really reading between the lines over the next couple of weeks. This is almost like a little bit just where you're just like, I know there's something more, you know, but not really being able to get that point across in conversation as neatly. And be careful about making something about you over the next couple of weeks, pile 2, because I'm telling you, for many of you guys, it has nothing to do with you. As well as, too, if you work online, watch out for any sort of power outages. I do not know why that's coming through, but it did. So try to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to work. Have your data backed up and saved so you don't lose anything. Also, if you work with a deity that deals with water, a god, a goddess, something like that, an energy that deals with water, this is a great next couple of weeks to work with them to help clear emotional blockages and any emotional weight you may be carrying. That really sort of activates this Knight of Wands energy within you, where you feel like you have to take over the situation and fix things. Make sure you're working on healing any sort of emotional blockage, weight, trauma, anything that's kind of sitting within your frequency that kind of makes you sort of spur into action, where you're just like, I'll take over, I can handle everything. Because when you do that, it almost whoever this person is or people are, it's just going to bother the hell out of them if you do that over the next couple of weeks. So be watchful of that, where you don't try to take over the conversation or be like, I know you're not telling me everything. Like, don't come off like I know and you don't, and I'm trying to help the situation. Like, be very careful about how you come off with that, okay? If you can make some water offerings, do that. Releasing flowers in like a lake or a pond or river or ocean, I'm seeing for some of you. Something like that is coming through for some of you guys. So if you had that in mind, like, I just want to take some flowers and release them in water, this is definitely like that confirmation to go through and do that over the next couple of weeks, okay? So let me see, because I'm just doing this for everyone. So let's just see what's going on for my single pile 2s over the next couple of weeks. And so we have heart-to-heart conversations, yep, like I was talking about. So definitely, if there's anything on your chest, especially if it's somebody new that you've just met, for my singles, and you're a little, you notice something is a little off about them or something like that, but you're still not sure because it's so new. Don't be scared to open up and really talk to them. Also, as well, for my single pile twos, if you are feeling like you need to explain yourself, don't rush into explaining yourself. But if you feel like there's a part of you that this new person doesn't necessarily understand, try to fill in that gap for them without them making assumptions. So for instance, like if it's like, well, I don't like texting that much because of, I don't know, whatever the case, you know, make sure you kind of explain that to them instead of leaving them open to all these assumptions and fears and things like that. So you don't want to necessarily jump the gun, but if you can tell they're a little confused about something, or like they don't really know what's going on, make sure that you do kind of explain that. And don't be afraid to open up and tell them things about you if you're feeling intuitively urged to open up to somebody, even if they're very new, even if you've just met them. If you're feeling intuitively urged to just open up to them, do that, because it's for a reason. So yeah, let me see. For my pile twos in a relationship over the next couple of weeks, we have here trust. The situation is calling for you to have faith. So some of you guys are struggling a little bit with some trust, maybe some trust issues. Like I said, be very careful about disempowering your partner, making them feel emasculated, making them feel like they are not capable of handling a situation. Just because you can intuitively feel what they're going through before they can, or before they're ready to acknowledge it, doesn't mean that you need to come in to save the day. Let them alone to save themselves. Because like I said, if you kind of come rushing in trying to like, well, no, I know it's really bothering you, or I know that you feel some type of way and you're just not talking to me. If you do that, it's going to really sort of irk them a little bit over the next couple of weeks. So trust them enough to be adult enough and mature enough to talk to you when they're ready, and to work through their own emotions without you having to get involved, because that's not really going to help pile two. Okay. Let's go on ahead. Oh wait, yeah, that's right. We got to get your self-help cards. So let's see some self-help cards for my pile twos. Journal. Write out how you're feeling. Definitely write out how you're feeling over this next week. Don't be afraid to get a dream journal, to buy a journal yourself. If you've been feeling the urge to pick up a pen and paper, start writing, start making poetry, music, anything like that, do it. Definitely keep your hands busy when it comes to organizing your thoughts and your feelings, things like that, because journaling is really going to help you to understand why you may feel like you need to rush in and do certain things, or like you need to sort of take over and take control. It's going to really help you to sort of come to peace and come to terms with like, why do I impulsively just, you know, jump in without letting someone else figure it out? It'll kind of help you to sort of pinpoint those things, or whatever it is that may be going on with you mentally and emotionally over the next couple of weeks. Journaling is going to help you see it plain on pen and paper, or it's going to help you see it plain on paper, how it is that you're feeling and why it is that you're feeling how you're feeling. So you'll be very shocked as to like how you sort of, it'll feel very therapeutic for you writing over the next couple of weeks. As well as too, if there's somebody that you cannot talk to, pile two, with the Six of Swords in reverse right here, because maybe, you know, there's distance, or it's inappropriate, or they've passed on, or just whatever, you can't get in contact with them, but you feel like there's something that you need to say, journal it out and don't send it off, or text it out and don't send the text. Just kind of get it out for you, and just do it for you, not necessarily for them, but for you. Oh, we've got two cards here. So we have watch a movie and write a gratitude list. I really didn't want this, but I kind of feel like this might be your card, you guys. So for the week after, write things that you're grateful for, write things that you're happy about, write about the blessings in your life, and especially set intentions like this with gratitude, because that's going to be very effective for my pile twos, okay? And then watch a movie. Relax, like you see how she has her cat here and some coffee and just kind of laying out. Do something that's very relaxing. Do something that's relaxing, like a little bit of an escape, getting away, watching a movie, and it'll really help too to keep your mind off of wanting to sort of maybe get involved where you don't need to get involved just yet, okay? So kind of find a way to pass the time without getting too involved. Let's see, practical advice. We have here, what do you need to release? Yeah, like what I was talking about with you guys, waning moon. So definitely writing, journaling things out, figuring out how you feel. It's going to be a very therapeutic 2 weeks for you guys, couple of weeks. If you're willing to sort of if you're willing to sort of acknowledge exactly why you're feeling what you're feeling, it'll definitely help you guys, okay? And then we have here a win-win alchemist forecast. Okay, so this is I told you, this isn't about you, pile 2, so be careful about taking something on that was never meant for you or blowing something out of proportion. Miscommunication is a huge possibility for my pile 2s over the next couple of weeks, and some of you may be ruled by Mercury even. Gemini, or you may be a Gemini or Virgo rising or have Mercury in your 1st, 3rd, 4th, or 8th house. Communication is the thing to navigate for you these next couple of weeks, though, pile 2. And this is why the like journaling and writing out how you feel and your thoughts may be better versus just rushing in and saying something before really figuring it out and thinking it out. What are you trying to say? What do you need to say? What do you want to say? So journaling first before having a conversation, something like that, can really help you over the next couple of weeks. And the final card that we have here is Dhumavati. The message from Kali Ma is, beloved mother who dwells in the smoke, who presides over the most difficult transitions, she who knows that certain endings are unavoidable, they are necessary predecessors to radical reinvention. Her presence brings the message that though disappointment, defeat, or loss and negative repercussions of such experiences may cause suffering for a time, they will not limit your future happiness. They are a means for operating as yet unrecognized pathways for fulfillment. Your trust must be unconditional at this time, and later you shall see that everything has worked out for the absolute best. Like I said, this has nothing to do with you, pile 2. This really doesn't. This is all kind of about waiting out the storm and allowing the dust to settle before you get involved. You don't need to get involved necessarily just yet, pile 2. Okay, so yeah, this is all that I'm saying for my pile 2s. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. I want to thank your guides, my guides, our higher self, amazing spirit, for these messages. Hopefully you all come back to visit sometime soon. And until next time, please stay safe, healthy, blessed, and keep conquering the world. Bye, guys. All right, and pile number 3, welcome to your reading. So we're starting with your tarot cards. Then we'll take a look at your oracle cards, and I'll also be shuffling some additional oracle cards on camera to see what your 2 weeks has in store for you. So let's get started. Very first tarot card that we have here is a 7 of Pentacles in reverse. Then we have here, ooh, look at that, the Ace of Cups. And then we have the Ace of Wands. Pile 3, you do not have to be patient anymore. The universe is not asking that of you. You have done a very good job at taming your own desires and impatience. And there's a whole new journey that is starting for you. And so for me, this looks like even a very spicy new love or love interest, a sexual encounter, because there's something that was very dull or lifeless here for my pile 3s. Maybe in your love life, maybe you work a little too much or don't focus on your personal life, social life, or romantic life, and it's like this Mercury retrograde for you, or the start of it, the first couple of weeks of it, is going to conjure up feelings of wanting to spice up your personal life, your social life, or your romantic life, or you end up going about your routine as normal, working, and all of a sudden you bump into someone and you meet someone, or you recently have met someone that makes you realize, like, okay, there's a lot more to life than just my money and my career or whatever has your interest. With the 7 of Pentacles right here, responsibilities this could be. So this feels like someone that has been an adult for too long. You've been adulting for too long, and you know, you've kind of forgotten how to be a kid, or you've been in a relationship for too long and you've forgotten how to flirt, how to be sensual, how to be sexy, intimate, and in love with your partner. You know, if you keep doing any sort of routine day in and day out, it loses its spark, you know, it gets a little stale. So you have to switch things up. And this is bringing back a lot of lightheartedness and fun energy, pile 3, over the next couple of weeks. Very exciting energy. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm seeing the universe throw my pile 3s a really juicy, delicious bone that you cannot get enough of. So much so that you forget about work for a minute or your responsibilities. You realize that you can make time Because my pile threes, I have the feeling many of you guys here are the people that complain about there's just never enough time in the day, or I don't have enough time for a social life. But the next 2 weeks will prove to you that time was never the problem. You just never wanted to make or create time before like you do now. You never had anything or anyone that intrigued you enough to create time and space for something else to be going on in your life besides work or your responsibilities. But something has intrigued you enough where you make time for it or for this person. This could also be something that has been in development for a while, and you decide over the next couple of weeks to scrap it and start over. You may want to add something or someone to the mix. You're ready to really start sharing your life as well, or this project, new beginning, goal, whatever this may be. You're ready to add something or someone to the mix and to disrupt your own life by adding in some spice, something new. Because whatever the Seven of Pentacles is, you know too much about it to the point that you are bored, and you definitely are ready to switch things up. Seven of Pentacles in reverse is something not going anywhere. And that's why I said you're not being asked to be patient anymore. So if at this point your relationship still isn't going anywhere or working, or this job still isn't going anywhere or working for you, or this routine, pattern, whatever this may be, if it's still not working for you, you are being given permission over the next couple of weeks to explore elsewhere. Because when you walk away from something that's already set in stone with the Seven of Pentacles in reverse and is not willing to change, that's when you'll come across these other offers, this Ace of Cups and this Ace of Wands. Because this is definitely an offer right here. This is divine intervention. This is the universe coming in and saying, hey, here's something new. You know, so you may kind of miss that if you're still trying to force something or make something work just because you're used to having it there. And that will spark something within you. So go off of your own intuition. Do not take a tarot reading as just fact and truth. But if you've been feeling like this, then this is how you'll know that this message is meant for you. This may also be saying to make more demands this upcoming next 2 weeks, so that the way people can meet you halfway and make their own offering towards you. So this could be a new relationship, new career, new business venture. You've never done this before though, and this is going to be something that's really exciting. So let's check out some romance cards for my single. Let's check out some romance cards for my single pile threes. Let's see. Pile threes, we've got pay attention to the red flags. The signs are cautioning you. Okay, so like I was saying, for my single, I feel like this is a weird card to get for my singles, because I kind of feel like some of you may be single over the next couple of weeks, or you may decide to take a break from your relationship or your partner for the next couple of weeks to maybe sit and really think about things, something like that. And that may sort of end you up being single. So you might not be single right now, but you might be single or kind of taking a break in the next couple of weeks from a partnership, friendship, something like that, situationship, you know, dating ship, whatever this is. You may be sort of taking a break from it over the next couple of weeks. But for my single pile threes, pay attention to the red flags. Do not ignore them, especially like I said, if there is something new and it hasn't been working. If anything hasn't been working, then this is your opportunity to explore elsewhere. So don't just settle for these red flags, and don't just take them as like, don't take them with a grain of salt. Do not take these red flags with a grain of salt, because there's definitely someone or something else out there that is so meant for you, that the universe has in alignment for you, that the universe has sort of ordained for you. So don't settle for anything that you wouldn't put up with. You know, don't do that. Some of you may be lonely, and that may be why you're kind of dealing with something. If you meet someone new and you're like, I like some things about them, but there's other things that I don't like, don't settle for it. Let's get a card for my people in a relationship. Ooh, engagement. Your love life is ascending to a higher level of commitment. So you guys, when it comes to engagement, what I'm kind of feeling like is some of you may go exclusive over the next couple of weeks. Somebody that you've been speaking to, talking to, may ask you to go exclusive in a relationship over the next couple of weeks. You may even be asked to get married over the next couple of weeks, you guys. So kind of something very exciting going on. But either which way, your love life is taking this huge leap. Like I said, there's a lot of newness coming. So if your relationship still isn't working, that's how you'll know, like, maybe I need to explore elsewhere. And like I said, get demanding. You know, if you're expecting to get married by a certain age, to start a family, let your partner know, let them know, like, hey, like, this is the next chapter that I'm waiting on right now. And if you're not ready to pursue that, I can completely respect that, but I'm just going to ask you to respect the fact that I have certain needs that are not being met, and I have to go find them if you're not willing to do that for me. And who knows, that may sort of kind of kick your partner into overdrive where they're just like, hey, let's get serious about our future. But either which way, my pile 3 is in a relationship, you guys are getting really serious about your future. Even if your future doesn't have to really do with your relationship, maybe it has to do with buying a home, moving to a different state or a different town, a different city, having children, starting a family, starting a business together, starting a savings. It's something where it's like you guys are getting really serious about getting your future together, maybe getting your finances together as well. But there's something definitely very fulfilling about this for you guys. Let's see some self-help. Let's get some self-care cards for my pile 3s. Oh, that's funny. It was already flipped over, so we have sweet treats. So some of you guys maybe have a cheat day. This week coming up, have a cheat day. Treat yourself to something really decadent, really nice that you would like normally not do, because it's like, oh, this is kind of an occasion, you know, I wouldn't normally do this. So treat yourself to something really, really nice and decadent. Like I said, you guys need to kind of change something up. So especially if it's like a diet or something and it's like you haven't had sweets in a minute, maybe kind of give yourself a little, I don't know, a little treat or something like that. And then for the week afterwards, we have dance. So this is just really all about letting your hair down, having fun, laughing your ass off, you know, just like doing something very youthful, very new. Like I said, some of you guys have been adulting for just a little too long. And that's something that definitely needs to change, because it's just like, you need to sort of switch that up and bring back a little bit of that youthful energy, that childlike energy. That'll be very fun for you. So do something where you get your body moving, maybe a little yoga, a little dancing, maybe go out and dance with your love, your partner, something like that. Go out dancing with friends or something maybe, you know, if you can, if you're able to, but do something a little different that's going to throw off your own schedule. That's what you really need to focus on over the next couple of weeks, pile 3. And another thing too, that will also help bring back your creative spark. I'm just picking up this message coming through. So if you are a creative, if you are somebody that's like a content creator, you make music, art, something like that, and you've kind of lost that spark, or you've kind of hit like a dead end where you're just like, I don't know where to take this from here, go out, change up your damn pattern, stop staring at that book, stop staring at that piece of paper, stop staring at your equipment, stop staring at it, because all it's doing is sort of setting that energy in where you can't switch it up. You need to go out and do something different, get your mind off of it. That's the way you can get back into that flow, that creative flow, and that flow of being able to envision something new, because that's what the wands represents, is this vision, something that comes to you, that sparks you and inspires you. And cups has everything to do with this like fulfillment when it comes to your emotions, you know, your emotional fulfillment and contentment. Let's see your practical advice for the month we have here, or for the next couple of weeks. We have a fiery climax approaches full moon in Aries. Okay, so yeah, you've got all this new energy pulsating around you over the next couple of weeks, pile 3. So there may be some surprising new offers or opportunities or new beginnings. I don't see too many endings for you per se, but more so like something that you need to maybe walk away from for a moment, or pull yourself away from, so you can take notice of what's coming in around you. Lots of signs happening for you over the next 2 weeks as well, pile 3. And if you work with candles, watch the flame. Pay attention to the soot left around the candle jar as well, because there's a message for you in there. And if you enjoy cloud gazing, that may be another effective way for you to stay grounded for my pile 3s, or to wind down over the next couple of weeks. As well as too, some of you have a random call coming in from someone that you have not spoken to in a very long time. This could be in the form of a call, a text, or an email. It's like it's been months or years since you guys have spoken. And I'm kind of seeing you guys pick back up a conversation that should have been had a long time ago. So for some of my pile 3s, there may be a very old energy or person reaching out to you in the next couple of weeks. And the final card that we have for my pile 3s is Blue Tara. Beautiful card. So let me see in the book what this means for you guys. And what it says for Blue Tara here is, it says, sweet mother of peace now bestows her gifts of clarity, peace, and the power to overcome any negative condition. Just as a beautiful lotus grows from muddied waters, so too shall you arise from confusion, difficult circumstances, and heavy energies into sacred blossoming. If you feel held back or slowed down by your circumstances, remember that your soul has the ability to process all experiences and become stronger, not weaker, through doing so. This oracle indicates healing and a positive prediction for a peaceful future. Oh, that's beautiful. So pile 3, you guys have over the next couple of weeks, there may be a little bit in the very first week or so, there may be like a little bit of a little tension, not even tension, it's just like maybe a little misalignment is what it feels like in the first week. But I feel like that week after, you guys are going to kind of get into a different flow, a different swing of things. And I feel like that's what this blue tarot card is saying as well. And that will really help with your creativity, you guys. So if you are a creative, that's what you need to do to get back to that creative, where those creative juices are flowing. If you're just like, you know what, I'm sick of my own creations, I want to switch something up, especially under this Aquarius season where it's like we want to be very unique. When we're under the umbrella of Aquarius, everyone wants to be unique and everyone wants to stand out in their own way. No one wants to be regular. No one wants to be ordinary when it comes to Aquarius energy. So that will really help sort of set you apart as well, is doing something to switch up your energy. That'll help your creativeness to switch itself up too, and to put it in a completely different frequency so that you are creating things that you don't even know, you don't even understand where these ideas are coming from. So I'm seeing a lot of very strange ideas that you don't even understand where they're coming from. You don't understand how you're receiving these messages, getting this inspiration. Where is it coming from? It's coming from divine intervention, you guys. So really amazing stuff. Just switch up your energy, pile 3, and you look to and it looks to be a very beautiful next couple of weeks for you. Okay, so this is all I'm seeing for my pile 3s. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me take this time to thank your guides, my guides, our higher self, amazing spirit, for these messages. Hopefully you all come back to visit sometime soon, but until next time, please stay safe, healthy, blessed, and keep conquering the world. Bye guys.